Investing can feel a little bit confusing, especially if you're new to it. If you don't yet understand exactly what happens to your money when you invest, odds are you'll make worse decisions, and that can cost you in taxes, profits, or in stress. Today we'll discuss the entire life cycle of your money from when you get paid to when you buy the investments till finally when you sell them and you withdraw your money. Hey, I'm Brendan, and every week that you're subscribed here, you'll get a totally free video on personal finance, investing, or something similar. Lately, I've been answering a lot of questions in the comments about the basics of investing and kind of what happens with your money, so that prompted this video. Let's go through step by step and follow your money. Number one, you get paid. Woohoo! Payday is awesome. I love paydays, and it means that now you have the option to start investing. For now, we're not going to handle before tax, after tax investing. If you heard those kind of terms and you're wondering about it, we'll follow the basics of what happens to your money now, and we'll deal with taxes later. Number two, you've got a chunk of money in mind that you want to invest, and you've got the accounts you need to start. This was a point of confusion for a few of my subscribers. They thought that you purchased investments kind of similarly to the way that you purchased other stuff through like Amazon.com or at a retail store through like a debit card or with cash or something like that, but that's not really the way investments work. Even though people use terms like buy investments or buy stocks, it's a little bit different than the way you buy that normal everyday stuff. Money that's ready to invest is in your bank account. So maybe there's still some old school investment service out there that I know of that you can bring like a handful of cash or write them a check, but from everything that I've had experience with, you've got to have that money in a bank account. Typically, this is a checking or a savings account. So you need to have the money that you want to invest in that checking or savings account. Then you also need to have an account set up with your investing service. If you're a beginner and you don't know what kind of investing service you should use, I made a complete video all about that. That's the best investing apps for beginners in 2021. So finish this video, then immediately go to the description, find that other video, and watch that one next. Now, when you start your account with that investment company, they typically will have you link that to the bank account right away. That's like the default way. So have your bank account number and routing number handy so that as soon as they ask for it, you can put it in and move to the next step. When you're setting up this investment account, it's also the time that you have to choose what type of account it is that you want to set up. So a lot of different investing services will offer you multiple different kinds of accounts. And the three most common ones for most of us are a traditional IRA, a Roth IRA, or a taxable brokerage account. Now, there's obviously a lot more than that, but those are the most common kind. If those terms are still really new to you, then do a little research to kind of figure out what you want to do, but I'll go into it here just briefly. The quick and simple answer is that IRAs are for retirement. So they kind of lock your money up over a period of time, and in return, they get you some tax breaks, which are really awesome. But you can't really touch that money very easily, and you have to go through loopholes, and it's kind of confusing unless you're at the retirement age. So if you want that money to be for retirement, IRAs are a great option. Otherwise, that taxable brokerage account is just fancy terminology for like a standard or normal brokerage account, investment account. And all that means is that you can put the money in and take the money out at anytime you want, which is good, but you miss out on all those tax breaks. The easy way to decide what kind of account that you want to invest in is to keep in mind the overall time horizon that you're thinking of. If you know you want that money in 10 years and you're only 35 years old, well, it doesn't work to really put that in an IRA. I also made a video called What is an IRA for Beginners, and I'll put that in the description below. Like I said, there's some loopholes in there, but for now, we'll stick to the basics and we'll settle for you need the money for retirement, goes in an IRA. You need the money sooner than that, goes in a taxable brokerage account. Good? This is where the water starts to get a little bit muddy because when you're setting up your investment account, sometimes at that same time, they'll ask you what you actually want to invest in. So the stocks or ETFs or index funds or whatever the things are that you're interested in investing in, they might ask you for that up front. To streamline this process, just remember to have that kind of thing in mind whenever you're setting up the account. Remember, you've had your bank account number and your routing number handy. Also have handy the kind of account you want to start as far as your investment account and what you want to invest in. I know that could feel like a lot, but they're just going to ask you for that stuff when you set it up, so I'll make that kind of a handy reminder for you. When you have those three elements set up, the cash in the bank account, ready to go, the bank account itself, where the cash is living, and then the investment account, then you're ready to start investing. Step number 3 is you send that chunk of money to the investment service itself. Now, you log into your investment service to start the party. Once you're there, look for something like deposit or fund account. Choose that and then pick how much money you want to transfer from your bank account to your investment account. Boom, send it. Typically, the money needs a few business days to get moved from your bank to your investment account, so just keep that in mind. After those first few days, when the money lands in the account, sometimes it goes in this kind of middle ground, like this waiting room account, if you will. This is where the money waits for you to choose where you want to invest it. And like I said before, some investing services just put it to work right away. As soon as you deposit it, it's invested because you've already chosen what you want to invest in. Other ones are structured like this, where you send the money to the investment service, it goes in the waiting room, then you have to choose from there what you actually want to invest in. It's just a couple different ways to do the same exact thing. I know that, for example, Vanguard uses this kind of waiting room effect where you transfer money to it, it sits in their money market account, then you have to log back in once the money's actually there after the few days, and then you pick, hey, send it to this thing. I want to invest in this. Where other services like Acorns or M1 Finance, they have you pick your investments up front. So as soon as you hit deposit, boom, the money's working for you. Step number 4, the broker buys the investment for you. This is why we all have to go through the middleman of the Acorns or the M1 Finance or the Vanguard or whoever, because they're the ones that actually can purchase the investment. For whatever reason, this is the way it's structured. You can't go and directly buy the investments yourself. That's why we all have to go through the middleman. But thankfully, there are a lot of great services nowadays that make your life easier and help you to keep track of things. So it's kind of cool. Step number 5, money transforms into equity. This is another point of really common confusion. Once you send the money from that waiting room or from your bank account and it actually is sent by the broker and is turned into an investment, it's not money anymore. Maybe that's weird. Is that weird? It is literally transformed from money into pieces of companies that you now own. That is crazy. Now, the easiest way for you to kind of keep track and measure them, even as they're pieces of this company, is in like dollar values. But just to be clear, it's not. It's you own parts of those companies. It's amazing. And this is a huge step towards wealth building. You're not just piling up pennies in your piggy bank anymore. This means you own part of a very successful big company where people are working night and day to make as much money as possible for investors like you. This is a good thing. Number 6, how you make money with your investments. The way you make money in the stock market is one of 2 ways. Either the little bits of the company that you just bought go up in value, or the companies themselves pay you dividends. The flashiest way you've heard about making money in the stock market is probably the investment itself going up in value. It's represented in the price of the investment. So if you paid $100 for something and now it's worth $120, well, that's exciting because it could mean that you've made some money. Now, it doesn't give you money right away. It just means the thing that you own is now worth more. It only gives you money whenever you sell it. It's kind of like the value of a house. So if you bought a house for $200,000 and are still living in it, but now it's suddenly worth $250,000, well, that's great. It's worth more. That's very cool. But you don't have any more money as a result of that. You just own something that's worth more. It's great. It gives you options. The other way you can make money investing in the stock market is with dividends. Now, that's kind of a strange word, but all it means is the company that you've invested in has made a profit and they're sharing that profit with people who own the bits of the company, like me and you. Now, they can do that or they can reinvest it into the company. I mean, they could go and buy more machines to stamp out more products, or some companies choose to pay these dividends. It's not really important for you to know exactly which investments you have pay dividends or exactly how much they pay, but it is important if you want the best return to turn on what's called dividend reinvestment. All this means is whenever they pay out that dividend, instead of it getting transferred back to you in the form of like a bank statement, it just gets reinvested. So this is a really exciting part, and it kind of dovetails into a later step about compound interest. But whenever they pay a dividend, if you have dividend reinvestment turned on, it buys another little chunk of that company. So the company is funding your own growth in ownership in itself. You slowly own more and more and more pieces of the company, which allow you to get bigger dividends. Then those dividends buy you more pieces, and it's this awesome little cycle of growth that gets you more and more pieces of that company. Now, dividends and growth aren't necessarily 2 separate events. It's not like one or the other necessarily. You could have a company that pays dividends and goes up in value. It's great. But like I said, it's not crucial for you to really worry about that right now, because if you chase after some investment or some stock that has gone way up in value, or you chase after some other investment that has like a really high dividend payout number, odds are you're going to kind of make some bad moves and you're not going to do the best thing for you overall, because a lot of us are beginners here and we need a good foundation. We don't need to chase after those really risky, crazy investments right now. So stick to things that are really well diversified, which is just a fancy word for saying a lot of different investments, not like 1 or 2, something like an index fund. The best step of them all, number 7, the magic of compound interest. Like I mentioned with dividends, the more time your money is invested, the more it grows on itself. The term for that is compound interest, and it's likely one you've heard before. It's really important and really powerful for your journey towards financial freedom or just building wealth. Naturally, we just think in more linear terms kind of by default. So it feels like it would take us forever to save a bunch of money, and that's true, it would take forever, because we're not thinking in compounding terms. So let's do a really quick example. Let's say you are going absolutely ham on this savings goal you have. You want to save $1 million, and you're going to do it. So you've allocated $1,000 a month to save. Wow, that's a lot. Guess how long it would take you to save $1 million at $1,000 a month? Well, some of you have already done the math. It's 1,000 months. How long is 1,000 months? 83 years. Oh my gosh. If you are not a fetus in the womb listening to this right now, it's already too late. You're not going to make it. I'll tell you that right now. Saving just takes way too long. It doesn't really help us to build wealth. It's just sort of a short-term thing that we can pile up money to then go spend it really soon. Investing and compound interest is a completely different ballgame. Let's say that you want to save that same $1,000 a month, but you're not just shoving it in a box under your mattress. You're going to invest it in the stock market. Now, a 9% return in the stock market is pretty normal. It's pretty average over time. If you've got those dividends reinvested and you're well diversified, you can probably reasonably expect something like that. Let's say you take that same $1,000 a month, you invest it every single month. Guess how long it'll take you to hit that same million? 60 years? 40 years? Nope. 25 years. Wow, that is so much faster than the 83 that it took you to save. And now you, sir or madam, are a millionaire. Congratulations, it's nice to meet you. If this whole concept still feels a little bit fuzzy, what's helped me in the past is to go online to like investment calculators and just play around with it and see how amazing that growth just ramps up over time and compounds on itself and is way more powerful than the money that you originally put into it. It's really cool. Number 8, when it's time to end the party, you sell the investments. If the time comes that you need some or all the money that you've invested, you've got to sell the investments first. At the risk of being way too repetitive, just remember that's not money right now that's invested. That's little bits of ownership in those companies. So you have to sell those, transform them back into money, and then withdraw the money to get it. It's pretty easy to do on most investment platforms. So just look for the option to withdraw or sell your investments. Number 9, the investment is turned back into money, and then it goes back in that little waiting room account. If you're new to investing, this whole like middle step where it goes from investment to money and then it sits in this middle account and doesn't just go straight to your bank account can feel really strange, but it's just the way things are done. So now you know to look for that in the future and be prepared for it. Finally, step number 10, you can withdraw that money from that waiting room account and transfer it back into your bank account. At this point, you pick how much of that money that's sitting in the waiting room account you want to put back into your bank account. Once you hit okay, that takes a few business days too. So you remember whenever we sent it to the investment account, took a few days. When you take it back out of that investment account, it takes a few days. It's just kind of a slow process. Then once that money finally hits your bank account, it's yours to do whatever with. Now there's a good chance that I've left something out in this process or I've kind of glossed over something that's actually pretty confusing and I need to dive deeper into. So if that's the case, leave me a comment. Also, if you want a free checklist that goes over all these 10 steps, I've made one for you. Totally free. I've made it within this app that I use to track basically my entire life in, and it's called Notion. And Notion is completely free, so I'm not selling you anything on this. You can start an account for free. I've used it since October, and I haven't paid them a dime. It's amazing. And what you do is you'll click on this link, and then on the top right corner, you have an option to do duplicate. That'll duplicate it into your Notion, and then you can have a copy of it for your own use whenever you invest. At this point, I have to pause and thank you, new subscribers, for all being here. There are a lot of you. This is so amazing, and I'm so thankful for all of you. I really don't take your subscription lightly, and it means that you trust me to provide you with value through these videos. Thank you all so much for watching, so much for liking, and I'll see you soon. Bye.